Hello again, and welcome to the movie story. In this episode, we're covering the 2012 action thriller, Man on a Ledge. Be advised, this recap contains major spoilers, so please proceed with caution. The film introduces us to Nick Cassidy, a former police officer who is now a fugitive from the law. We watch as he registers at the Roosevelt Hotel using the alias Joe Walker. A valet shows him to his specific room, where he enjoys a final meal. Afterward, he meticulously wipes the room clean of any evidence of his presence, leaving behind only a written note. Nick then opens the window and climbs out onto the narrow ledge, where he is about to spend some of the most critical hours of his life. To understand his motives, the story flashes back 1 month. At that time, Nick was incarcerated and had just seen his final appeal rejected by the court. He was facing the full term of his 25-year prison sentence. His former partner, Mike Ackerman, visits him to deliver the news that his father is on his deathbed. Mike assures Nick he will arrange for a temporary release so he can say goodbye. However, Nick is only permitted to attend his father's funeral. There, Mike and his fiancée offer their sympathies to Nick and his brother, Joey. Joey's girlfriend, Angie, gives the two brothers a moment alone. They soon get into a heated argument that escalates into a physical altercation. When Nick's guards intervene to separate them, Nick seizes the opportunity to take one of their pistols. Now armed, he forces Joey to remove his handcuffs, sabotages the guard's vehicle, and flees in his brother's car. A police chase begins in the cemetery, which he deftly handles while changing his clothes. The pursuit leads to a set of train tracks, where he crashes the car into a passing train and manages to disappear before the police can apprehend him. Nick makes his way to a safe house where an accomplice has left him everything he needs. Back in the present at the Roosevelt, authorities have become aware of the man on the ledge and are cordoning off the street. Police and emergency services swarm the scene, including Detective Jack Dougherty. He proceeds directly to the hotel room and introduces himself to Nick, stating he's there to help. Down on the street, Detective Dante Marcus is managing the ground situation, where a crowd has gathered to watch the unfolding drama. Dougherty makes his first attempt to persuade Nick to come inside, but Nick threatens to jump unless they bring in a different negotiator. The detective steps back into the room, where he is met by Marcus. They examine Nick's note, which reads, "I will exit this world as I entered, innocent." They still don't know his identity, and Marcus wants to dust the room for prints. Dougherty places a call to a negotiator named Lydia Mercer, informing her that they have a jumper who is asking for her by name. Marcus's team begins their investigation, still believing the man is Joe Walker. When Mercer arrives, Dougherty briefs her on the tense scene, warning that Nick plans to jump in 2 minutes. Mercer quickly assesses the room, gathers what information she can, and introduces herself to Nick at the very last moment. He explains that today will change everything for him, for better or worse, and he needs her to know he is prepared to die. Mercer questions why he would call for her if he's so determined, to which he answers that it's because of her notoriety. He needs an audience. Dougherty, skeptical of her, gives her 5 minutes to get focused. Meanwhile, Mike is searching for Nick, completely oblivious to the public spectacle. He senses something is off about Nick's escape and instructs a colleague to monitor communications between the Cassidy brothers. At this point, we meet another key figure in Nick's story, David Englander, the proprietor of the Roosevelt Hotel. He is a ruthless tycoon with influence all over the city and a complete disregard for others. Dougherty updates Mercer that they found no fingerprints in the room. She devises a plan to get a print by offering Nick a cigarette, but is unsuccessful on her first try. Mercer suggests she knows Nick is not on the ledge merely to take his own life, but to make a statement of some kind. She tells him that, unlike the spectators below, she genuinely cares. Suddenly, Nick gets a call from Joey, confirming their arrival. Nick then tries to manipulate Mercer to get her to leave so he can speak with his brother discreetly. It becomes clear that Joey and Angie are collaborators in Nick's scheme. The media descends on the scene, reporting on Mercer's presence and dredging up a recent case where she failed to prevent an officer from jumping off a bridge, an incident that has deeply affected her. Dougherty and Mercer are both suspicious about the lack of information on Joe Walker. Dougherty decides to dig for more information, leaving Mercer to concentrate on Nick. At the same time, Nick is communicating with Joey and Angie, who are in the process of breaking into one of Englander's buildings, located directly across from the hotel. As the building's security system is being switched over for the night shift, Joey and Angie drill into the roof and plant a small explosive charge. They give Nick a signal, and he creates a disturbance to divert the attention of Mercer and the crowd below as they detonate the device. Joey and Angie gain entry into the property, while Nick continues to play his part with Mercer. He asks for a cigarette, and this time she shares her last one with him. Nick reveals he knows a lot about Mercer's career, claiming they share common ground. He tells her not to lose hope in him, implying he doesn't truly want to jump. As she re-enters the room, she gives the cigarette butt to an officer to have it processed for prints. Joey confirms to Nick that they are inside the building. Meanwhile, Mike returns to the police station and learns about the jumper, though not his identity. Mercer makes another attempt to talk Nick down, but a news helicopter flies perilously close, nearly knocking him off the ledge. It is on the news broadcast that Mike finally recognizes Nick. He then receives a call about a storage unit registered under Joey's name. In Englander's building, Joey and Angie rappel down an elevator shaft. Joey disables the security cameras, and they proceed toward Englander's vault. Angie spots a sensor inside, and they retreat to avoid tripping it. Doherty and Mercer now suspect that Nick is stalling for time, and she needs to accelerate his identification. Mercer comes back out to the ledge and demands to know what's happening. He offers a vague, psychological response. She tries a new tactic just as Joey begins speaking into Nick's earpiece. Unable to reply directly, Nick embeds clues for Angie and Joey in his answers to Mercer. While Joey is confused, Angie deciphers Nick's message. She identifies it as a heat sensor and determines they need to cool it. They use a fire extinguisher to neutralize the sensor. Nick tells Mercer that he knows she lifted his print and will soon discover who he really is. Simultaneously, Mike arrives at Joey's storage unit and discovers files on Nick, Joe Walker, and himself inside a cabinet. Marcus gets the results of the fingerprint analysis and contacts Mercer. He reveals that the man on the ledge is Nick Cassidy, and that he was imprisoned for stealing Englander's prized Monarch diamond, worth $40 million. Marcus adds that Englander owns the hotel, has an office there, and runs a diamond exchange across the street. It dawns on Mercer and Dougherty that Nick's stunt is a desperate bid to prove his innocence. She learns that Mike was his partner and calls him, explaining the situation as he is in the middle of burning the files from the storage unit. Marcus alerts Englander's security to check the vault. At the same time, Joey and Angie are positioned just outside the vault, preparing to breach it. Mercer confronts Nick, asking him the purpose of his entire performance. Nick tells her to dispatch a team to the diamond exchange, which sends Joey into a panic as they are not yet done. Nick insists on his innocence, claiming Englander framed him for the diamond theft and that he needs her help. She remains skeptical. Nick declares that this is his retrial and successfully riles up the crowd below to chant in his support. As Englander's security team is escorted by police toward the other building, Nick warns Joey. Joey asks him to stall for time so they can hide. In a brilliant diversion, Nick starts flinging money off the ledge. The crowd surges into the street to grab the cash, obstructing the path of the police and security team. Angie uses a camera to capture the passcode as the security guard enters it, while Joey finds a hiding place. The security and police officers enter the building and head up, just as Angie and Joey conceal themselves. Meanwhile, Marcus speaks with Englander about Nick. Englander is furious, believing it's no accident that Nick chose the same day as his major press conference for a new real estate project to pull this stunt. Marcus reassures him but is threatened with career ruin if he fails to resolve the situation. Back at the exchange, the security guard shows the police the vault room entering the code. He details the extensive security measures, which convinces the officers that a break-in is impossible. He then reports back to Marcus. Marcus returns to the hotel room and gives Mercer an ultimatum: get Nick off the ledge in 15 minutes, or he's sending in the tactical squad. At that moment, Mike is racing toward the hotel. Joey and Angie emerge from their hiding spot and return to the vault. Mercer informs Nick that the tactical team will be coming for him. He explains what really happened with the diamond. Englander's own men ambushed him during the transport and stole it. Englander was nearing bankruptcy, but instead of selling the diamond and admitting his financial troubles, he reported it stolen to collect the insurance money. Mercer wants to believe him but wavers when Nick suggests Englander's thugs were likely cops. She leaves to investigate his claim just as Mike arrives at the hotel. He reports to Marcus before heading up. A police officer arrives with documents from Nick's cell, and Mike offers to deliver them to the room. Mercer shares her doubts about Nick's guilt with Dougherty, but he remains convinced Nick did it. She also questions Marcus, telling him that Nick had been cooperating with internal affairs on a separate case involving a cop named Joe Walker. She believes it's all connected, but Marcus dismisses the idea. When Mercer insists that Nick won't jump, he orders the tactical team to take their positions. On the street, the crowd and media debate Nick's innocence. Mike glances at the documents from Nick's cell, discreetly removing several pages before entering the room and handing the rest to Dougherty. Mercer questions Mike about Englander, but he claims to have no connection to him. Now suspicious of Mike as well, she refuses to let him near Nick, despite his insistence that they are friends. At the same time, Angie is navigating through a ventilation duct to get into the vault room. Once inside, her first task is to disable the security system, for which she needs Nick's guidance. Mercer calls him to come back inside, but Nick asks her to buy him more time. Dougherty discovers bomb schematics among the documents. Simultaneously, Nick instructs Angie on how to short-circuit the main processor to deactivate the sensors. She hesitates for a moment over which wire to cut, but ultimately chooses the correct one. Angie uses the wire to disable the processor and turn off the sensors. Joey opens the vault room door and then drills through the vault itself to gain access. The tactical team is moving into place, and Mercer asks Nick if there is actually a bomb. Dougherty tells her to clear the window. She argues with him and Marcus over the best course of action, but when they refuse to listen, she steps onto the ledge beside Nick. Angie and Joey finally breach the vault, opening it to find Englander's vast fortune. However, they are searching for only one item: the Monarch Diamond. As they sift through the vault's contents, Mercer and Nick stand together on the ledge. Unfortunately, they cannot find the diamond. When they call to inform Nick, Mercer sees him speaking to Joey. Nick then reveals his entire plan to her. With the diamond missing from the vault, Joey must initiate Plan B. They set off the alarms to create a diversion for the police and security. Englander goes to inspect the vault, telling his guard to keep the police out while he checks the real safe where he stashes the Monarch. He is relieved to find it there and decides to take it with him. Mercer comes back into the room and demands to speak with internal affairs. Mike returns and pulls Dougherty out of the room, locking the door to speak with Nick privately. He calls Nick back in, claiming he can help. Nick tells Mike they are speaking with IA, which visibly unnerves Mike, who then lunges for him. At that moment, Marcus gives the order for the tactical team to apprehend Nick, and two agents rappel down the building. Nick evades them, leaping from one ledge to another before getting back inside the hotel. The crowd becomes agitated as they witness the struggle. Marcus and the tactical team begin a search for Nick as he flees through the hotel. Meanwhile, Englander returns to his office, where Joey and Angie are waiting. Joey pats him down and finds the diamond. They force him to handcuff himself to his office safe and leave with the diamond. At the reception desk, they hand a bag to the valet, instructing him to hold it. The valet removes the diamond and secures it. Englander manages to reach a phone and informs Marcus that Joey has the diamond. Marcus then orders the tactical team that Nick has a bomb trigger and must be taken down. Mercer is searching for Mike and Nick when she receives a call back from IA. The agent confirms they have circumstantial evidence against both Mike and Marcus. Nick is being pursued by the tactical team. He encounters the valet, who gives him his jacket containing the diamond and misdirects the pursuing officers. They soon catch up to Nick, who steps out onto another ledge and begins to climb the hotel's exterior. At the same time, Marcus finds Joey and Angie and tortures them for information about the diamond's location. Nick reaches the roof just as Mercer and the tactical team arrive. He drops to his knees as Marcus appears and places Mercer under arrest for obstruction. Marcus dismisses the tactical team so he can be alone with Nick. As they leave, Englander brings Joey to the rooftop and threatens to kill him if Nick doesn't return the diamond. Nick hands over the diamond, but Englander still instructs Marcus to kill them. Mercer frees herself from her restraints and rushes back to the roof. Marcus tells Nick to jump, or he will throw his brother off. Suddenly, Mike appears and shoots Marcus, but is also shot in the return fire. He apologizes to Nick for framing him just as Marcus prepares to kill them both. Mercer arrives just in time and fatally shoots Marcus. Joey shouts to Nick that Englander is getting away. With no other options, Nick leaps from the roof, landing safely on the airbag the police had set up below. He pursues Englander and confronts him in front of the assembled crowd. Nick tackles him to the ground and retrieves the diamond. He holds it up for the crowd to see, and they erupt in cheers. Later, Mercer picks up the exonerated Nick from prison. They go to a bar, where he is greeted warmly by everyone. His father, who was alive and part of the scheme all along, is the most overjoyed to see him. In the final scene, Joey proposes to Angie with a diamond ring he pilfered from Englander's vault. Be sure to subscribe and enable notifications to see more recaps like this one. Thank you for watching.